Welcome back to Outward Home Learning. This is computer science and the topic today is network topologies. So to learn a bit more about this, we're going to go over to Mr. Holton, who's going to tell you about the key topologies you need to know about for your GCSE, and then you've got an activity and some exam style questions to do. Over to Mr. Holton.
Chances are you go to school and you go into a computer room, and then within that computer room you've got loads of computers and they are connected together to a network via wires. Now, it's one of those things that you probably not thought about, but how those wires are organised and how they all connect together is actually really important for how well it functions as a network. You've got maybe dozens, maybe hundreds of computers in that school, so it's not like a small network you can arrange at home. How those computers are all connected together is called a topology, and there's two that you need to be aware of. First off is the star topology, and the second topology you need to know is mesh. And we're going to cover both of them right now and talk about the advantages and disadvantages of them both. First off then, star. So a star topology looks a little bit like this. If these boxes represent computers, then in the middle of those boxes is this device called a switch. And have a look at the network hardware video if you're not sure what a switch is, but basically it connects devices on a network together. So all these different devices, now that could be a PC, that could be a PC, that could be a PC, and let's say one of these is a printer. They all get connected together, and then in the middle of that is a switch. That's really good. I mean, there was older topologies which were nowhere near as sort of efficient at this. It means it's very easy to add extra items onto the star network. I just add another PC to it and then connect a new wire to the switch and I'm done. But obviously these wires can sort of add up over time. The big problem that I have with a star network is this here, in that first off, a lot of data is being funneled through one piece of equipment, so that can get a little bit overloaded. Okay, so that's an initial problem that we have to worry about for star networks. The other problem is what happens if this happens, if the switch suddenly goes down, if it breaks. Well, it means that all of these computers suddenly can't connect to the network, and so you can lose a lot of connectivity at once. Have you ever been in that situation where all the computers in a computer room have gone down? I have as a teacher, and I can tell you it's not much fun. So we're looking for advantages and disadvantages. We can say for a star network is definitely easy to set up, and it's definitely easy to add computers to as well to it. But a definite downside is that if the switch breaks, the whole network fails. And also you've got a lot of traffic going through the switch. So let's sort of compare and contrast this to the mesh network, which we're going to draw over here. Now, unlike the star network, what we find with a mesh network is there's no central device which is controlling everything. You've just got all computers connected to often more than one computer, to the point where every computer will have a couple of options to move messages about. So for example, if I'm sending a message from this computer here to this computer here, it can go along this wire, then it can go along this wire. But what happens if that wire gets broken? Well, not a problem, because I can reroute it around here. And that's one of the beauties of a mesh network, is that it is very fault tolerant, which means that if I end up with a network cable getting cut, or if I end up with one of these PCs here going down, then it doesn't matter, because a message being sent from one computer to another should always be able to find an alternative route. So that is a clear advantage. Another potential advantage is that I can really start to maximize the amount of traffic that I can possibly get through this mesh network. If I've got this set up, I haven't got everything going through a central point anymore. So I could potentially be sending a lot of data between these two computers and a lot of data between, let's do these two computers. And I'm not using the same network cable, so that could potentially be faster. But let's just deal with a big disadvantage of this, and that this can be a right pain to set up. I mean, if you probably will not have a mesh network in your school, simply because if you're dealing with cables, then you are dealing with a lot of, you simply have to lay those cables down. You ought to try and figure out how they can get from PC to PC. So it's much harder to set up if you're dealing with a wide network. And even if you get this set up wirelessly so you don't have to worry about the cables, well, there's still a lot more connections going on in the mesh network. So it just takes longer to maintain. There's more possible points for individual connections from PC to PC to go down. So there are your big differences between star and mesh networks.
Okay, so for your first task, you need to draw some topology diagrams. Now these are part drawn for you, and you'll be able to double click to edit these in Google Drawings if you're doing it online. But if you want to get that document open, you've got 10 minutes to complete those diagrams, and then we will review them afterwards. 10 minutes starting now. And that's time up. Hopefully you had enough time to do your diagrams. If not, you can pause it if you need a little bit longer. Let's review those with Mr. Barnes.
Right, so let's have a look and go through this network topologies activity. So it says complete the diagram below to show how devices are connected together in a star network. And if you've done this electronically, these are Google drawings, so you could have just double clicked on them and then drawn your lines. So we've got how the devices connect together in a star network, or draw it so they are. So here we've got 3 PCs, a printer and a server, and we've also got a switch. So the key thing with a star network is there is a central point that everything connects to. Okay, so the switch is that central point. So very simply, we need a line from each PC to the switch. We need a line from the printer to the switch, assuming it's a network printer, and from the server to the switch. And very simply, we've got a star network. Now the next question is, complete the diagram below to show how devices are connected together in a mesh network with the printer connecting directly to the server. So first of all, let's do that last bit. So the printer connecting directly to the server. Now with a mesh network, every device connects to every other device to give multiple pathways of data transmission. So if one way goes down, the next one works, and so on. So here I'm going to draw the server to each PC. And then I'm going to make sure each PC connects to every other PC. And there I've got a mesh. Now the way to test this is if you've got 4 devices on that mesh, each device should have 3 lines going from it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's got a 4th one because it goes directly to the printer, and 1, 2, 3. So there we have a mesh network. Every device on that mesh has a connection to every other device, and it says the printer is connected directly to the server, so it's connected like so. Okay, the final bit of this task then was complete the true or false table below about the benefits and drawbacks of star and mesh network topologies. So mesh networks are expensive to install. Well, the answer to that is false, because most of the time they're predominantly wireless because every device connects to every other device. So all you need is a wireless access point and you're good to go. Mesh networks use more cables than star networks. Well, if mesh networks are cabled in the first place, they will, because they have cables going from every device to every other device. In a star network, if one link fails, the rest of the devices will continue to work. Well, that's true, because as long as that central point doesn't go down, if one device drops off, the rest will just carry on working. And then finally, adding or removing devices from a star network is easy. Well, again, the answer to that's true, because they're not connected in lots of different ways. They connect directly to the switch, and that is it. And that's your walkthrough for the network topologies activity.
So now, as ever, it's time for some exam style questions. There's only one question for you to do today, but you're still going to get 10 minutes to do because you need to draw a topology, and then we're going to review the question afterwards. So you've got 10 minutes starting now. And that's time up. Hopefully you had enough time to do that. Please make sure, as Mr. Barnes is going through these, you've got time to make some amendments. If you need to pause the video, that's absolutely fine. Over to Mr. Barnes.
Okay, so let's have a look at this exam question as part of our deliberate practice on network topologies. So we've got an office has a LAN. The office has 4 employees which each have a laptop. So 4 employees is important and they've each got a laptop. The office also has 1 server and a networked printer. The office is set up as a star network with a switch at the center. So all the devices are connected to the network using cables. Draw the devices and connections in the office star network. All devices must be clearly labeled. Well, first of all, it says there is a switch in the center, so I'm going to draw a switch here. It then says there's 4 employees and each have a laptop. So I'm going to draw a square and write laptop, 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 and laptop. So there's my 4. And then we've got 1 server, so I'm going to draw a server. And it says a network printer, so I'm going to draw a printer as well. Okay, notice I've just drawn boxes and labelled them, and that's absolutely fine. So with a star topology, remember, they all connect to that central switch. So all I'm now going to do is draw lines from the switch, or to the switch, from each device. Okay, so we've got 3 marks for this question. If I just shuffle that up, let's get the mark scheme. So it says here we get 1 mark for 4 laptops or computers, a server and a printer clearly present and identifiable. So it doesn't matter what they're connected to. Have we got those 4 things? Well, we've got 4 laptops, a printer and a server. So that's 1 mark. It then says switch as a device clearly identifiable. So have we got a switch? Yes. And then it says for the 3rd mark, all devices are directly connected to the switch and only the switch. So all my devices are connected to the switch and only the switch. And as you'll see, my diagram pretty much matches the mark scheme diagram. And there's your topology answer.
And that's everything you need to know about network topologies for today. See you next time.